In section 3.1, we're going to talk about solving systems of linear equations in two variables. So, when we see a system of equations in two variables, what that means is we'll have a set of two equations with two variables. So we'll have two equations with two variables, an x and a y. And mainly we're going to look at lines, at least at the beginning of the semester. So when we're looking at lines, when you're solving a system of two equations, it means that you're trying to find out where the two lines meet or intersect. And that will be your solution, a point x comma y. So the goal is to find out where your two lines are intersecting. That's going to be your solution or your answer for your system of two equations. So when they're asking, in this first example, whether or not this ordered pair, this point, is a solution, they're asking if both lines go through that point. And the only way to find that out is to go ahead and plug it in to both equations, and it has to work for both equations. If it doesn't work for either one or the other, it doesn't matter. It means it's not a solution because the two graphs won't intersect at that point. So what we'll start with here is we'll start by plugging in our point. Remember, points come with x's and y's. So we'll take our x, which was 5, and plug that in for both x's and both equations, and plug in the y of 1 into both equations, and see what that tells us. Now notice in the top equation what that gives us is 5 plus 1 equals 6, and that is a true statement. So for the top equation, the x plus y equals 6 does work for this point. Now let's look at the bottom equation, which would give us 5 minus 1 equals 4. Notice that does also work, so that means the bottom equation also works for this point. So what this means is, yes, the point 5 comma 1 is a solution. And that's really all they wanted, but let's make sure we have an understanding of what that means. What that means is whatever these two lines look like, they will intersect at the point we just found, the point 5, 1. That's what this means. Now let's take a look at another one. In this next one, they want us to actually graph two lines, so let's do this one at a time. So let's start out with the first line, the x minus 4y equals negative 4. The easiest way to graph this would be to put it in slope-intercept form, that y equals mx plus b. In order to do that, that means we need to get the y by itself. So we'll start by solving this equation by subtracting x from both sides, and that will get us a negative 4y equals negative x minus 4. The last thing we'll do is divide both sides by a negative 4. And let's see what that gets me. That gets me a y equals, be careful, we've got a negative 1 divided by a negative 4, which will give us a positive 1/4 x. And then we also have a negative 4 divided by a negative 4, which will give us a positive 1. So let's look at graphing this now. Remember, we always start out first with your y-intercept, which is positive 1. So we'll start on the y-axis up at 1. Then our slope is 1/4, which means we're going to go up 1 and to the right 4. So we'll go up 1 and to the right 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where our second point will be. And there's our 2 points, and we can draw our line. So our first line is now taken care of. It's been drawn out. Now all we have to do is take care of our second line. The 3x plus y equals 1. Let's try this one. So we've got our second line, 3x plus y equals 1. Let's do the same thing. Let's put it in slope-intercept form by solving for y. So we need to subtract 3x from both sides. And let's see what that does, is that gets us y equals negative 3x plus 1, which is now in slope-intercept form. So when we're graphing this one, we're going to start with our y-intercept, which is also 1. Then we'll use our slope, which is negative 3, which is negative 3 over 1, which means we're going to go down 3 into the right one. So we'll go down 1, 2, 3. And to the right one. And then we can draw our line through our 2 points. Doesn't have to be perfect. So this is still a system of equations. We're just trying to solve it using our picture. Remember, what it means to do when you're solving 2 systems of equations is you want to find out where the 2 lines intersect. Well, in this one, it's pretty clear that they both pass through the same y-intercept. That is going to be your answer, but we need to list it as a point, which means it needs to have an x and a y. Well, this point here where they're intersecting is the point 0, 1. That's our y-intercept. So that is our final answer. Now, it won't be always this easy to find the solution of where 2 graphs intersect just by graphing them, so we need other methods that will always work, because we don't want to be left to always graph our lines.